It's July 2nd, 2025, and you know what that means. It's World UFO Day. This is Inverted World Live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Inverted World Live, and I am your host, Shane Cashman. It is World UFO Day. I didn't know that was a thing until earlier today, but they've been doing this since 2001. They got to spread awareness for UFOs, and there's been a lot of UFO news today, which we will get into. For those who don't know, this is a call-in show. Link to call-in is pinned in the chats below on both Rumble and YouTube. You had a weird story, you've had a strange encounter, we want to hear about it, give us a call. It's audio only. We will try to get to as many people as possible. But if we miss you, you can try again tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, you can try again next Monday. I am joined by Brandon. What's up, sir?
What's up, Shane? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Let's get weird.
Man, UFO Day. I guess it's attached to the Roswell incident in 1947. There has been debate, I think, over the years on whether it should be end of June or early July, but they've landed on July 2nd as the World UFO Day. I don't know what's going on. I haven't seen many parades. I think they actually have some sort of weird acronym, and I hope not a flag, but I wouldn't be surprised. But we do have all these new UFO news items today, which is surprising, not surprising. We have the first actual video footage of the orb from Mosul. I don't know if you guys remember this story from like a year or two ago. They were talking about just a screenshot. It was an image of this sphere, this orb in Mosul. But now we've got video. And Brandon, I sent you the article from The Sun. It has the video in it as well as the article, which I'll start reading. And this was from today. UFO declassified. First ever bombshell vid of infamous Mosul orb UFO is released after U.S. spy cams captured mysterious object over Iraq. The object appeared suddenly and moved erratically in and out of the camera's view. The first ever bombshell, okay, we read that. The declassified video filmed in 2016 by U.S. MC-12 surveillance aircraft shows a mysterious metallic spherical object flying over the city of Mosul. Another metallic spherical object in the news. If you're watching right now, you can look below. There's an image of, what do we call it? The bogus sphere. And we got another one of those spheres to talk about as well. Spheres are in the news. It's all the rage these days. So you'll see there's images. Maybe we can play them in the video. I think it's at the top there.
I don't know what this is.
What are they trying to sell us now?
This is just some crap. I don't know if that's got any. That
okay. Well, those are the stills of it.
This is, I think, the video here.
That might be the one we talked about a few weeks ago. Actually, they're just throwing every recent UFO.
This was the one that they spotted it by the U.S. military.
Right. As well as this one was as well. That's the disc, that like dark disc we looked at. But I'll continue reading. Interestingly, the 4-second footage. That's right. It's 4 seconds. The footage, this bombshell footage is 4 seconds. That's all you get from an MC-12, which is like a little plane, surveillance plane. The 4-second footage shows the UFO flying at a constant speed without dropping altitude. The object appeared suddenly and moved erratically in and out of the camera's view. The clip was obtained by Dustin Slaughter. Yes, that is his name. That is incredible. A leading UFO investigator through a Freedom of Information request and was shown to the public by UFO podcaster Jeremy Corbell. You're familiar with Jeremy Corbell. We've pulled him up a bunch with, in particular, his interviews with people like News Nation. He's been releasing a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff I find questionable, especially ones that are 4 seconds. It's not so much a bombshell, in my opinion. It's a 4-second clip. But it comes 2 years after the first still image from the video was declassified by the Pentagon. The image was part of a classified briefing for U.S. officials and was later released to the public. It's considered part of the ongoing investigation into unidentified aerial phenomena by the U.S. intelligence community. Corbell said at the time, "For the first time, we are releasing a military filmed image of a UAP over an active conflict zone," he said. UAP pose a significant risk to our servicemen and women, and this case highlights this and is unfortunately not unique. So there you see the sphere floating on by. Honestly, it's the 4-second video doesn't offer much more than what you're seeing here. It just zooms on past in 4 seconds. They've got these freeze frames of this metallic sphere, which we've been seeing a lot of. Let me see if there's anything else interesting in this Sun article. In 2023, a testimony was heard at Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C., as the Pentagon's all-domain anomaly resolution office revealed the shocking clips. The videos released in the declassified cases are said to have been observed by U.S. military drones. The footage showed a mystery metal orb as it hovered and flew across open airspace. So there's that.
We know where this happened.
Yes, this is allegedly in Iraq.
This is in Iraq.
Yeah.
And the one that the bogus sphere, where was that spotted?
Colombia. And there's the other one that they still call the Boogosphere that happened in China, where there's not a Booga, China. So these things they're in the news, guys. I'm curious why. Why? And we're going to go to the next one now. I sent, Brandon, you should have the video of the original Yumbospheres.
I do have that.
We can pull that up. Now, we should have brought this up. I wasn't aware of it when we talked about the Boogosphere the first time, but it's associated with that, with the Boogosphere. They call it the Yumbosphere, I believe, because it happened in Yumbo. And here we are. There might be some really silly music with this. We don't have to listen to it. But just to get a timeline going, the Boogosphere happened on March 2nd. The Yumbosphere happened on June 7th. So let's take a look at this. You can see it looks like the Boogosphere. Sort of looks like the Mosul. They're calling it, the thing in Mosul, they're calling an orb. But it looks just like a sphere, a metal sphere. They call it a metal sphere.
And once again,
It's
right in the camera view.
It's the same thing.
Where did it land? Was it a missile?
There are people out there who truly find this to be evidence of something extraterrestrial or non-human. I'm having a really hard time with these fears, guys.
Someone's building these damn things.
I think this is a hoax.
Someone is building these damn things and flying them around and trying to start hype over spheres. Like we're being probed, but I mean, like, these areas are too concentrated. They're flying around just perfectly right in front of the cameraman. I'm having the same issue I have with the Bigfoot sightings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why had anyone spotted one of these over a city or something? And the answer is because it would probably get shut down.
I believe the Bigfoot sighting, Patterson video more than
over this,
these
yeah,
videos.
Easily.
Especially now with how drones are. But there are people who swear this is something so much so. So now I don't know if it's showing you the actual Yumbosphere being tested on, but that was a quick shot of what looked like the Boogosphere being tested on. See, this moves to me like a drone.
Yeah.
But it's got that same sort of welding around the middle. I don't think they've opened this one up either. You might remember when we were talking about the Bogosphere, they said they weren't going to open it up, but they have been doing sonograms on it. Now they got this cool sci-fi filter on it.
It's 3 months pregnant and starting to show.
Yeah, and they also said it has an image inside of it that resembled the Wardenclyffe Tower built by Tesla on Long Island. I don't know. Like I said when we first started talking about this stuff, I didn't think this would be anything, but the fact that they had this whole press conference in Mexico and we had a congressman go down there to talk about it, that's interesting to me. Why? Again, why?
If this was sent by aliens, the only thing that they've learned about us is that we grow corn.
Yeah, we grow corn. Yeah, spheres love fields. And we don't see any footage of it actually landing, right? We didn't see any footage of it landing there.
No, it comes down right along the top, and then it was almost like the cameraman kind of like knew it was going to come back up because he started raising the camera, and sure enough, it comes back and then does its regular routine back to the other side of the cornfield and then back again.
Spheres are back, and they also relate to orbs. Orbs, again, have been in the news for the past few years a lot. Well, not so much in the news as much as on social media, because there's people like Ashton Forbes who are talking about the missing MH370 plane, the Malaysian plane. He has that video of the orbs floating around it, and he thinks there's some secret weapon of sorts that might be associated with. So these spheres are here, and I wanted to pull up this other sphere story while we're at it because someone out there, I forget who, and I'm sorry, told us about the Betz sphere. But before we get into the Betz sphere, shout out to everyone who's now joining us from IRL. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining us. We've been talking about spheres. It happens to be World UFO Day. It's been celebrated since 2001. Who knew? I did not until today.
I found out 10 minutes ago when Shane told me.
Hey, it's World UFO Day. And we got all these news items about spheres. And one UFO, I'm putting in quotes for those who are not watching, in some neighborhood, which we will pull up later. But we were about to get into the Betz sphere, B-E-T-Z. This happened in Florida. I won't go through the whole article, but it's worth looking at and showing you guys because, again, here we have, you guessed it, a metallic sphere. I was not aware of this story, but when we started talking about the bogus sphere, one of you guys hit me up. I think actually a few of you guys hit me up and told me about the Betz sphere. So let's get into that real quick. In the spring of 1974, the Betz family were assessing the damage in the aftermath of a small fire on their property in Fort George Island, Florida. And that's when they saw it. Sitting in the grass was a bright silver orb about the size and weight of a bowling ball. Perhaps it was a cannonball from the colonial period. They decided to take it home, and that's when things got weird. Weird enough to captivate the world's imagination and fuel a plethora of theories as to the provenance of this odd metallic ball. Soon, the seemingly innocuous discovery would lead them down a rabbit hole of investigation, speculation, and intrigue that endures to this day. As for the ball, this would come to be known as the Betz Mystery Sphere, the Betz Conspiracy Sphere, and the Betz Alien Sphere. So what was the sphere? We're going to scroll down here. On 27 March 1974, Antoine and Jerry Betz and their son Terry were out walking on their property in Fort George Island, Florida. They were inspecting the damage, Amid the charred remains and debris, a shiny metallic sphere about 8 inches in diameter and weighing approximately 22 pounds stood out against the backdrop of destruction. Stop right there real quick. That seems to be smaller than the spheres we've been talking about.
Way smaller.
So that's 8 inches. The spheres we've been talking about, like the bogus sphere and I believe the Yumbosphere as well, they say it's like the size of a soccer ball and it weighs much less. Mm-hmm. Well, they do say that those spheres, they claim that they change weight.
Yeah, apparently it gets heavier.
But I believe the one similarity we'll see between this sphere and those spheres is some sort of radio frequency communication that they claim was happening.
And also there's no crappy writing on it.
This sphere looks better. It's just a good old sphere. I mean, doesn't mean it's...
the guy last night that was like, the writing is legit. I'm like,
yeah. Everyone had issues with that one. And then when he said Beluga Sphere, everyone was like tapping out.
Beluga Sphere, I tapped out. Totally tapped out. But I was kind of tapped out before that, but Beluga was a definite tap out.
I hope we hear from him again because I have more questions.
I have a lot of questions.
All right. Initially, the sphere seemed to be a curious but benign artifact. Perhaps a cannonball. You said that already. I hate when articles do that. By then, the strange happenings began. The family reported that the ball reacted to Terry's guitar playing by vibrating and emitting a thrum. The family poodle would lie down and cover its ears whenever in close proximity to it. And when placed on a glass coffee table, it would supposedly roll around on its own accord, but never fall off. These movements intensified in sunlight. Intrigued, the family tried an experiment. They rolled the ball to one another on the floor, only to reportedly find it would change direction on its own accord, returning to the original roller and seemingly defying the laws of physics. The boomerang effect was confirmed by a third party in the form of a photographer sent by the Jacksonville Journal. So now we have someone else who's in this scenario. And from what I've heard, when the photographer showed up, I don't know if it's in this article, he was a skeptic, so they say, but he was quickly captivated by the sphere. It didn't take long for the Betz mystery to become a national sensation, the news outlets and curious onlookers flocking to catch a glimpse of the enigmatic object. The sphere's ability to attract such attention was not just due to its mysterious movements or origins, but also to the broader context of the 1970s, a time rife with interest in UFOs and the paranormal. The air's atmosphere provided fertile ground for the story to grow, which is something we should keep in mind today with everything we see. But also, on the flip side, there's so many sightings of things that you just can't seem to explain during times of strife, especially during the Cold War, especially during any times of any war. There's been lots of sightings, like we've mentioned on this show. Also during the lockdowns, a lot more sightings of strange things. So, the air's atmosphere. Oh yeah, I read that. The latter of these. Okay, I just want to skip around because it does get weird, and I'm going to try to summarize this. I want to read this whole article. But the Betz alien sphere theory is perhaps the most tantalizing explanation for its origin. This posits that its unexplained movements and resistance to damage hint at technology far beyond human capabilities. The Betz conspiracy sphere theory adds another layer, suggesting it was part of a government experiment shrouded in secrecy and accidentally discovered by the Betz family. There are yet others that believe it to be an explosive device which would be triggered by opening it. Interesting. They refuse to drill into this one, like the spheres from today, releasing the equivalent energy of an atomic bomb. Meanwhile, skeptics and scientists have proposed more terrestrial origins, and we'll leave it there with that. I do think at some point, I think I'm getting this right, that J. Allen Hynek showed up. He was one of the guys associated with Project Blue Book, another alleged skeptic of UFOs, and Blue Book was him collecting all these UFO stories. He became a believer in UFOs. And so the story goes, Hynek took it. And his son said that one of the things left behind after his father's death was a weird metallic sphere from Florida. No confirmation in that, but it is interesting. This sphere has a very similar story to it, sort of like disappearing or people trying to take it. You might remember last week it was when we talked about the fake police allegedly trying to steal the Boogosphere from a laboratory. Yeah, in quotes. That story was a little suspicious to me, honestly, because there was no confirmation no police reports were filed. And there's all this money and passing of hands and like international labs working on it. Germany was working on it. Mexico was working on it. We had congressmen down there. So who knows? But the sphere disappeared at some point from the Betz family. I think they were probably happy because people allegedly showed up at their house disguised as agents and were like, hey, we want to pay you a lot of money for the sphere. And they said no. And somehow, allegedly, they found out these were international actors trying to do it. The Y Files has a really good video on the Betz sphere. So if you're interested in what happened with the Betz sphere, he does a really good job of breaking that whole thing down. So there's that.
Full disclosure for all of our viewers watching, none of these shots that you are seeing are the Betz sphere.
Yep.
These are all just Getty Images has just been pillaged for things that look like the sphere, but none of these pictures are actually the sphere, so do not get it twisted with the images that they're showing you here.
I'm gonna be honest, my gut says hoax with a lot of this stuff. I think they're trying to hoax us. For whatever reason, although it's a very different story, it reminded me of the Balloon Boy story. Do you remember that story?
Mm-mm.
It was a family that said one of their children, maybe their son, was stuck in a balloon that went flying into the air, like this giant. I didn't realize my hand goes right in your frame like that. Sorry.
Smacking me
boom.
around it. Okay.
And it became a news sensation of this boy stuck in a balloon. But the boy was actually in his house hiding the whole time. And then people were like, was the father a part of the hoax and know his son was there? Or did the son trick them and they didn't know the son was hiding? And I think the father knew. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole right now, but if you guys are interested in Balloon Boy, in terms of the balloon boy who was flying in the sky, but not really, look it up, because there are some very disturbing interviews with that family after the fact, after everyone found out the boy was not in the balloon. And I think one of the kids is like throwing up during the interview. They say it's nerves, but the whole family looks very weird. And maybe it's just because this national attention, you got ABC news crews in your house, and that alone is like an alien situation. But this story reminded me of that story. Hoaxes, the media shows up, and then it turns into this whole thing. And who knows if any of this is true. But what I will say is it's odd that Hynek allegedly took it, and then his son said he had something like it. Who knows? Before we get to callers, and for those who are just now joining us, I'll remind you all, this is a call-in show. Phone lines are open. The link to call-in is pinned in the chats below on both Rumble and YouTube. If you've had an encounter with something strange, something you just can't explain, UFOs, cryptids, sleep paralysis, premonitions, missing time, you name it. Give us a call. We'd like to talk about it. Or if you've heard us talk about something today that you have a thought on, give us a call. It's audio only, and we'd love to hear from you. We have two more quick ones I want to get through before we get to you guys. Let's just show the people, because it's World UFO Day, the urban neighborhood with the UFO. That was how the tweet was.
Okay.
This is from Dom Lucre. I don't know how to say his name.
The tweet here reads, an entire urban neighborhood is reporting that they are witnessing a UFO in 4K. Now, how you witness something in 4K?
Yeah.
That's happening.
Looks like something
you got me.
Dom wrote.
Yeah.
So, and there's a stamp. I think, is it Dom's like stamp? Did he stamp this video himself?
Yeah, he has his Dom Lucre watermark down there. Like, I own the content and the rights to
so
this
who knows?
video.
Who knows? I was looking around and be like, is this video even from today or yesterday? Because you know how it is with a lot of these people.
Yeah.
They'll post videos from years ago, and they'll be like, hey, it's World UFO Day. I want to get those clicks.
The only thing that I'm seeing in this right here is, if you can see right to the right of where these people are standing, to the far right, it says congrats grad. Now,
okay,
we do have graduations going on.
Yep.
That can suggest we're in a similar time frame here, but again, we have no idea because there's no actual timestamp on this video. So
no, I haven't listened to this yet, but I heard it's funny. I only watched it on mute.
We're just gonna do it live here, so because I haven't seen this yet either. I'm excited.
No, we not making this shit up.
It's perfect.
Look at it. She gonna
Incredible.
It's a UFO for real, y'all.
What do you guys think?
That is crazy. Y'all, that's
Now, do you think
crazy.
they know they're messing with us?
It's a UFO for real, y'all.
I think they know. But that
I
might be a
promise
street light.
y'all. We got all these.
Hang on a
Ain't no
second.
damn street.
Can you go back?
Did
to,
you see what just happened there when the camera moved, though?
No.
Hang on. I want to drag this back because when she started to move it, you see this kind of blur thing happens here. Nothing else is really blurring in the video except for this thing the second she moves the camera. And so she gets it to about here, and then you get the blur from the lights on the left. But this looks like this kind of... I'm going to turn this lady down because she's screaming. It kind of just, like, almost shifts.
Oh, she says it's not a street light. I think it's a street light, but maybe not. If
That ain't no street light, bro. That's a UFO.
Yeah, Shane.
This the fucking street light right here. This the fucking street light.
I want to know if that music is playing in the video outside, like there.
That
I
had to
hope
be
so.
Dom. Because Dom's little watermark is moving with the...
It's a UFO.
Yeah. Oh wow, it is. Dom. Well, I don't think that's UFO people, but they tried. I'm gonna try.
I also don't think this is 4K. I'm just gonna go out.
I think you might be right.
Dom
I think Dom's in on the joke too.
This is 720p at best. I mean,
Incredible.
You're not even giving me 1080. Here. Get out of here.
Incredible. Okay, and then one last thing, real quick, as an update. Let's just show the folks an update from Antarctica.
Oh no.
Did I send you that?
I think you did.
I'll start reading. It's so funny. We were just talking about this stuff.
Is this the pilot? That,
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I got this.
Yes. A 19-year-old pilot has been detained in Chile after altering his flight plan and making an unauthorized solo flight to Antarctica. Ethan Guo is trying to fly to all 7 continents to raise $1 million for cancer research. I hope this helps. I guess that's the whole... I thought there was more there, but let me see if there's more in this article here. For just over half a year, Ethan Guo has been flying across the globe by himself in a Cessna C-182 and visiting each continent. Guo, 19, has been documenting the journey on TikTok and Instagram as he attempts to raise $1 million for cancer clarities. That's awesome. Good for this kid. The 19-year-old's videos have picked up a fair bit of traction at the time, especially as he's traversed different parts of the globe all by himself. He had been uploading pretty consistently until the end of June, with his last video coming as he landed in the Philippines. However, Guo has since been arrested by Chilean officials for an unauthorized landing in Chilean Antarctic territory. You guys, if he was listening to this show, you know you can't just show up. You got to get someone from your country to it's a sign on this, like an ambassador. You got to get the pre-approved tour.
What Dexerto is saying is that he was being held in Chile, endangering the safety of air traffic to Antarctica.
What? How much air traffic is there?
How many people are flying around Antarctica right now? And I mean, I'm going to go on, zero, seeing as how this one kid just went in there and they instantly arrested him.
Yeah,
so
I'm
you're
actually
trying to tell me
really
that he's the problem?
I'm going to try to look it up really quick. There are no regular scheduled commercial passenger flights to Antarctica. However, there are flights for research and tourism purposes. These flights are typically charters or support flights for scientific research stations. Some airlines often offer sightseeing flights over Antarctica, providing a non-landing experience.
Yeah, so shame on this kid for endangering scenic flights that probably aren't even happening. Shame on you. How dare you try to raise money for cancer research by going to Antarctica? You should know it's a no-fly zone.
I hope this helped his case. So he landed in an airfield in the Chilean Antarctic territory with this conduct. This is a quote now from the prosecutor. The defendant seriously endangered the safety of air traffic to Antarctica and the Magallanes region, which is why he was charged. As per La Tercera, Guo is subject to monthly check-ins with officials, but is authorized to leave Antarctica for Punta Arenas if weather permits. Wait, he's subject to monthly check-ins with officials?
They want to know what he's doing.
They want to know what he saw.
They want to know what he's doing. They want to keep tabs on him. And yeah, I think it's probably safe to say that maybe he flew over something he wasn't supposed to, and that's why they grabbed him in the first place.
Base 211. We're gonna have to ask old Sarge about this. He's ordered to remain there until July 11th until they can determine the full outcome of this case. There is no word on what consequences he might face. In the United States, the FAA has the authority to fine pilots up to $100,000 for violations against the aeronautical code, as well as removing any permits.
$100,000 for flying through Antarctica.
Guys, support this kid. Send him money. He needs to make that cancer research money because Joe Biden surely did not cure cancer like he promised us on his campaign trail. But that's weird. That's all very weird. But Antarctica is always in the news, and it was good to see some Antarctica news, but I feel bad for that kid. And then a quick aside, real quick, it is the 2-year anniversary of Tiffany Gomez saying that MFer is not real on an airplane. It's one of my favorite viral moments in recent history. I think that was like that accelerated post-reality, in my opinion. It was like everyone debating whether or not the dress was blue and black, but like on steroids. And we never found out who she was pointing at, and I swear, no matter how many times I've interacted with you, Tiffany, on Twitter, I think you're not the same person from that plane. I think you were made in a lab with Hawktuya, and I think you guys are... Anything that's viral on an airplane on Twitter is fake. I am almost 100% positive every one of those viral videos on an airplane on Twitter is from some CIA studio, and it's meant for us to debate and some weird symbolic thing that those weird dark magicians are doing down there. But it's been 2 years. Fun times.
Do we need to revisit this? Do we know if everyone's seen this video?
I hope you guys... let's pull it up for posterity. Let's show them. Apologies for bad language. Tiffany did say some naughty words.
Well, we just had a full urban community in 4K yelling, UFO. So I think we're okay.
I try not to curse. I know people can curse if they feel like it. They're impassioned.
YouTube does not like it, and we try to honor YouTube's wishes.
Yep. I did have a lapse the other day in cursing when I was on stage at Bohemian Grove. I was like, oh man, I was nervous and I was cursing. I'm like, dang, I didn't mean to do that. But I try not to. But Tiffany, on the other hand, who knows what she saw? There it goes. 2 years today.
I'm telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
Come on.
And you fucks. But I am telling you,
I love this video so much.
That motherfucker.
She's almost in tears. I don't know if she's faking that voice or not, but she actually looks legitimately scared.
Dude. I'm just looking at different interactions we've had, me and her have had on Twitter. And there's one from soon after this whole thing happening where I'm like, I was convinced this was going to be a Spirit Halloween ad. Like the whole thing was just for Spirit Halloween. Halloween was coming up. And I said, she started interacting with the page. She was interacting with all of us. It was very strange. This lady who allegedly is Tiffany Gomez. And I said, she's interacting with my page to subtly confirm my Spirit Halloween theory, or she interacted with my page to slyly acknowledge she was stealing my theory. And all of a sudden she popped up and said, or 3, none of the above. You guys can go find her name on my page. There's some funny interactions there. Still don't believe you are the same Tiffany, but 2 years today.
What you're doing is pointing at Tiffany and saying that MFer is not real.
Yes, son, that's exactly what I'm saying. She's projecting. The whole thing is a projection. It's a psyop. And like, look what it did to us. It was like the acceleration of post-reality. Everything got so much faker after that video dropped. You couldn't believe anything. Everyone had a theory. She was totally nowhere to be found. And then she shows up on the scene with feet pics. And the women I know who do Twitter know, don't show feet pics because people are weird and just don't do it, I guess.
You have no idea if Quentin Tarantino was watching.
Right. Yeah, definitely don't want him to see these things because he's got a foot fetish. And she comes back on the scene all of a sudden with like these weird feet pics, and she's in what looks like some fake kitchen. And I was just like, this is so fake. All of this is fake. This girl's fake. And then I almost got her on this show, but she ghosted me. So I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. But she did like a Barstool Sports interview, and that whole interview was weird. So I'm very skeptical of that. Like that is an early Yumbosphere hoax, in my opinion. Her on that plane, and then the fact that it was on World UFO Day of all days, it happened. I don't know, people, but if you don't know about all that stuff, I look it up for fun after the show. It's good times. We should get to some callers.
Yeah, let's do it. So, let's kick it off here with Katie.
Katie, are you real?
Katie, you are on Inverted World Live. If you can unmute and say what's up.
What is up?
What's up?
Doing?
Hi, I'm doing all right. How about you?
We're good.
Chilling. What's going on?
Sorry, I wasn't expecting to be first. So I've had a few things happen through my life, I guess. Is it kind of, do we want to go for like supernatural UFO stuff? It's like a demon dream.
It is UFO Day.
Yeah.
I guess we could go down that path if you're feeling it.
I said UFO. I don't know why I said UFO. Sorry. I'm like really nervous. Supernatural ghost story.
Okay.
Or yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Let's do
those
the
two.
ghost story.
Ghost story. Okay. So I've had several ghost incidents. I used to work, and this kind of goes with yesterday. A lot of the people who were talking yesterday also worked in healthcare. And so I used to work in a group home for developmentally disabled adults. I worked in the first house that I worked in, and it was a really bad situation because the clients there were very violent. And then I ended up swapping houses and managing another house. But the first house that I worked in was definitely haunted. There were several incidents where there was this back set of doors, and it was a closet where all of the linens were kept. And the doors would slam closed or open, like, throughout the night at different times. And it was something where, like, we checked the hinges and everything with it, and it was not... there was nothing wrong with the hinges of the door. They would just slam open or closed at different times. There was a specific incident, the most violent client that was there, there was an incident where I walked past his room one night while he was sleeping, and there was an apparition in his doorway. And it was a shorter man, and it was all black, but you could tell like this just was a male presence. I don't know if that makes sense. but he was a bit shorter and he was standing in that doorway, and it was kind of one of those moments I just walked away because I could tell there was like nothing that he meant while he was standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I the worst incident actually didn't even happen to me. My coworker, like a week before I stopped working in that house and refused to go back, because I got attacked pretty badly. A client or that the other staff member had stayed pretty late one night, and he was the only person working the floor at that time because it was COVID and we were short staffed. And so he was the only person working, and he told me that at about 3 a.m., he started feeling this breathing on his neck. And he looked up from the computer, and he was in front of a window, and he saw the reflection of a man behind him. And he like whipped around and he wasn't there.
Whoa.
And then, so that was that house, and that was the first house that I worked in. And then the next house that I worked in, and we could tell who the ghost was that was actually haunting the house because she had died that December. And so what she would do is she would stand in the window. So the office had like a plexiglass window that would be into the front foyer area, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And she would stand in that window. And when she was living, she would also stand in that window at night to kind of she wasn't trying to scare the graveyard staff, but she definitely was also trying to scare the graveyard staff. And so she would do that while she was living. And so then she continued to do it after she died. And there were several incidents where you'd hear footsteps running. There were 2 wings, basically, with 4 rooms on each side. And you'd be standing in the bathroom, which is in the middle of the wing, and you'd hear footsteps running up and down the hall. And all of the clients in that house are in wheelchairs. So none of them were on foot at all. And so there was literally no way that you would be hearing any footsteps coming from anywhere.
Whoa. Wow. Okay, so let's go back real quick to the first house. So that's wild to have to work with clients who are that violent.
Yeah.
That is something else, and that was like a common thing, I guess, there at that one house, or is that just
that
in
first
general?
house, yeah. And I mean, I knew it was. I kind of had heard some things before I started working there, and then I started the job, and one of my coworkers was like, I was 21 and she was like 19, and she comes in and she's like, yeah, a week ago I had to go to the ER because this client had bit her so bad that she had to go to the ER and like get stitches.
Wow.
And then she came back and finished her shift.
Wow.
It's insane.
Does this job pay
That's
well?
hardcore.
Yeah.
No, it didn't pay that well.
It's the only job in town, okay?
It honestly wasn't. It was a great experience, but at the same time, like, no.
Yeah.
Looking back, it was totally not worth it.
Yeah, no,
I would have been like, I want a raise.
Seriously.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a lot of work. Did the clients were they able to talk?
It depended. Some of them were verbal, others were nonverbal. Most were only partially verbal.
Did any of them say that the ones that could talk, did they say that they were seeing anything weird, haunted?
The client that I had talked about that was the most violent one, there were times where you would tell him like, hey, I saw somebody. If you would tell him that, hey, I saw something in your bedroom door, like I told him about that story, he kind of had a weird look on his face when I told it to him, like almost like he kind of knew what I was talking about. But it's hard to tell because it's hard to tell if you're just putting that on that person.
Right, right. And maybe they also have a hard time differentiating what's real and what's not, perhaps.
I would really suspect that that's the case, especially for a lot of them. I do know that several of them were super schizophrenic, so
Yeah, yeah. So they're slipping out of reality, and
yeah.
their like perception of reality is so different than ours. I always think of The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. The first chapter is from a disabled adult, developmentally disabled
Mhm.
adult, and it's written in stream of consciousness to kind of in his attempt to make you feel like you're in the brain of someone like that, and it's just you're in and out of time, things that just go in and out of frame, makes no sense. It's very hard to read, but I do think that it sort of captures it as best as someone can, on the page. But did you know any history of the house or anything weird that happened throughout the history of the house or before you got there?
So all of these houses were specifically built as group homes for this company.
Okay.
And it was the first company that ever started they started deinstitutionalizing people in Montana. They were the first company to do that.
Interesting.
So, those group homes have been there since the 90s,
Okay.
and a lot of people, obviously, a lot of DD people have died in those houses.
Yeah. Yeah. What we
And
were.
I mean,
Sorry. You can continue, please.
a lot of DD people have died in those houses just over the course of time. I mean,
Hmm.
several people had died while I was working there, and
Wow.
it was just a super common thing that would happen. And so, most of the clients that were there had either come from the state hospital, or had come, if they were younger, they had come from family,
Hmm.
but a lot of these people had come from basically an asylum.
Wow.
And I mean, like, the craziest thing, like, a lot of them had pica, and cigarettes was a common thing that they would go to eat, because when they were in the state hospital, they would like throw cigarettes at their feet and like watch the clients fight over them to eat
Whoa.
them,
Whoa.
and just crazy shit like that.
Whoa. That's wild.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's insane. I'm thinking of like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
I'm
You know.
imagining physically eating a cigarette and not
Oh yeah.
throwing up instantly.
It was crazy. We had to watch them if we ever like were going on outings with them, because they would try and eat cigarette butts. They would try and eat coffee grounds. They would try and steal coffee grounds just generally in the house all the time
Do you ever
too.
just like go up and like slap him on the hand and be like, no, like bad?
The temptation was there, but no. But honestly, several times you'd just be like, dude, you just gotta chill.
Right.
Come on. Please stop.
Right. It's kind of like we were talking last night about trauma manifesting like this horror, this like
Mhm.
feeling of doom. And I imagine that first house you're working at, that could be a possibility, especially coming out of those asylums too. And these people and their issues and their issues with the reality around them and themselves could also manifest some sort of terror.
I really do think that that is correct. And obviously I've seen a lot of that. And I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, that first house, their clients were violent for different reasons. There was a client who was in there who had been institutionalized. He was high functioning, but he killed somebody.
Wow.
He had walked in on his girlfriend. Him and his girlfriend were both like high functioning disabled,
Hmm.
and he had walked on in on his girlfriend cheating on him, and he beat both his girlfriend and the guy to death,
Mm.
and he was forced to be institutionalized. And he was
Wow.
high functioning enough that he could have not needed to be institutionalized with like very minimal care,
Right.
but that was his option, was institution or jail. So
Whoa. That is wild. And then the like black male, like the shadow you saw, that presence, you
Mhm.
said you felt like it was a male. Did anything weird happen around that time outside of that
No.
with that client or
No,
anything?
nothing weird other than the everyday stuff. I mean, it was always weird there just because somebody was always having a behavior, and there
Hmm.
was always like violence going on in the house, and
Hmm.
just like being threatened. So but that was the normal every day. So nothing outside, nobody had died recently, nothing like that. But
Hmm.
I had told that coworker who saw the apparition that I told you about. There was a night where we had kind of started talking, and turns out that we had like both believed in a lot of conspiracy stuff together. And
Mhm.
so we were just chatting a lot about different experiences we had both had. And when he told me that story, I told him about that one. And he told me that I had probably seen there was a specific client who had died before I had gotten there.
Mhm.
And he said, and it was a couple years before. But he said that that was probably him because he was about that size. And I think that he either had lived in that room or the room next door. I'm not totally sure which one it was, but I think it was the room next door that he had lived in.
Wow. And then the second house, this lady in the window, when she came back after death, did anyone try talking to her?
I know that I didn't, and I don't know that anybody that I talked to did. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did, but I do know that one of the ladies who told me she was very upset that she died in the first place because she was very close with her. And she told me that she had seen her several times, and
Hmm.
so I almost didn't want to ask
Mhm.
because I was kind of worried for the can of worms that would have opened.
Yeah, understandable. Understandable. Are you still working in this field?
So sort of. I actually fix medical equipment now, and I
Okay.
ended up getting that job because of somebody that I worked with from the house that I had managed.
Okay, cool. Cool. That's a wild job.
Yeah, no, it was a lot, and it kind of had evolved from me working in a children's shelter before,
Hmm.
which is an emergency shelter.
Wow.
So it was like homeless kids, or
Mm.
at-risk kids,
Okay.
there. And so I thought that it would be similar, but getting attacked by a 12-year-old is usually a little bit different than getting attacked by a fully grown man who doesn't know his own strength. So,
Yeah, 100%. Well, wow, it's incredible that you did that, knowing, all the issues that can come with that job. We appreciate you calling in.
oh yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks
Thanks,
for
Katie.
sharing.
Thanks.
What a clear phone call. Did you notice just the clarity of that phone call? I loved it.
Yeah, that was great.
The story was amazing.
And big thanks to
Scary.
Katie for waiting. She was in line last night. I got a couple more people I'm going to get to that were in queue last night, and I want to get through them before we get to all the other new people that are now in the waiting room. So thank you
Sweet.
guys all for calling in. Just be patient. We will get to you. I want to cite that you hear a lot of ghost stories about, yeah, this house was old, or yeah, this place was old, or this guy died in his house and now it's haunted. People die in hospitals all the time. Why don't I ever hear any stories about hospitals being haunted?
Yeah.
I mean, we did get that one about that nurse that said that she saw
Yep.
what I looked up later, and these guys are called collectors, apparently.
Oh,
that have
interesting.
been, this is apparently a thing that people have seen in hospitals.
Huh.
And it's said that every now and then you see someone come and collect the dead, and it
Interesting.
appears as a guy in a hat or something, like we've seen, that either just walks out with the patients or carries them out in a wheelchair, whatever. But that apparently is a thing that some
Yeah.
other people have seen.
We
which is
had a
interesting.
caller a few months ago who worked with medical supplies and had to go to hospitals at night. He showed us a video, actually. There was something weird in the video. We could debate till we're blue in the face about the veracity of the video, but it looked like he saw something. And I do think, I get hung up on houses being old and haunted because I'm just like, you're used to the history of that house. But I think anything's haunted. It doesn't have to be a battlefield from Civil War or an old house from the 1700s.
A tub of ice cream that's been in your freezer for 3 months.
That's an apparition. Don't open that thing. You gotta bury it.
Damn it. All right.
Growing some monster.
Let's keep it rolling with callers here.
It'll eat you before you get to eat it.
All right, so I want to get to Ring next. Let's get them in here. Ring, you're on Inverted World Live. What is up?
Yo, mic check. Can you hear me all right?
1
Yes,
2
sir.
1 2. Welcome to the show.
Sound good.
Excellent, thank you.
What's going on?
Well, given it's UFO day,
Hey.
I suppose I will talk about the encounter I had with a TR-3B, brief encounter,
Okay.
but it happened.
That's the triangle, right?
Still in Vermont, similar area. I was traveling north through Mendon, and this craft was, I would say, about 200 feet in the air. It passed over me, going from north to south, kind of towards a trajectory towards Killington. It was very silent. It was close enough where if it was any sort of standard means of aviation, you would have heard it, a propeller blade, a jet engine, anything like that. It moved completely silently, very slowly. This was not creating a lift. It was just kind of gliding along slowly over the treetops, triangular in shape, 3 large white lights in the corner, 1 red light in the center. The outside edge was ridged. I would say it may have been 8 to 10 feet tall, maybe 40, 50 feet long, something about that size.
That's huge.
Very much can verify TR-3B, real thing. They fly around. People spot them. I was one of them.
Yeah, people, there's definitely reports on them. And I think I've even seen, I think it's military.com or something like that has a report on it. It's a wild one to see. And you said it was silent?
Absolutely silent. Moved. The shocking part about it was how slowly it was moving. Yeah. That's the part that really throws you off when you see him, because you see something in the sky that large moving that slow. It does not make any sense to your mind at all. Like that doesn't equate to anything I've seen before.
Right. Did you hear any other reports of people who saw it in the area, or talk to anyone else who saw it?
No, nothing like that. Unfortunately, I asked around. No, I couldn't get another person to verify that they encountered it.
Is there a military base nearby?
There is a National Guard Air Force base in northern Vermont. I don't think the National Guard would be somebody who would have access to that.
Yeah. You never know.
The only other one I know of, I believe it's called Fort Drum, is in like northern New York, kind of near Watertown, kind of far.
Yeah.
And that's an Army base. I don't know if they would have access to it. It just peculiar, man. You know, it may have been like a hidden, underground bunker somewhere around in the Northeast Kingdom or something, like.
For sure. Did the lights do anything? Were they just like glowing?
They were all static. All the lights were static. They were on the whole time.
And you said how it was 200 feet in the air?
Yeah, I would say the trees I was around were about 90 feet tall, and it was in the wintertime. There was no leaves on the trees, and I would say the craft was approximately the same height as the trees above the trees. So 180, 200 feet in the air, give or take.
And did it create any sort of shadow, or did the lights reach anything like the ground or the trees?
No, the angle I was at, it was about 15, 20 degrees ahead of me. So there was light cast on it from like the moon that I could, clearly make out the profile of it enough so that I could see like the ridges along the side of it. I had a pretty clear shot of it, but I was not in an angle where I could see any shadow cast from it.
Okay, and this was like a solid triangle, or was it like that flying V look?
No, it was a solid triangle.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Wild. Well, thanks for calling and sharing that with us. Appreciate it.
Of course, man.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man.
TR3B. We've had a few people call in. They've seen TR3Bs. I don't think they knew it was a TR3B. Some people do. It is certainly a thing. It has been written about. It's up there. It's doing something. And I think that's old tech. I think they've got things we just can't even comprehend. You got a picture of this thing?
I did it on the wrong one. I'm a dumbass.
Oh, hell, come on, man.
Man.
It's a CIA.
Be a producer,
taking down.
they said.
They don't want you to show the people. It's big. I mean, 40, 50, that's huge.
Yeah,
People claim to see this thing a bunch. So you see the different versions
bastards.
On that screen. You see like there's the V type, and there's also the triangle type. But most people I talk to see this, the quintessential just solid triangle with the 3 lights. We had a lot of people call with this.
But yeah, you can see a lot of these are based above the tree lines too, kind of like he was saying. So there are actually a lot of examples of these flying just above tree lines.
I'm trying to see if any of these are the
A
military.
lot of these are
website.
look animated.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 photos I've seen of that look like photos. You know, I don't know if they're real.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with all of these are fake, but
Yeah.
yeah,
The
just
one-
to give you guys an idea of what he's referring to, in case
The
you don't
one
know.
on the military website is just a diagram. They don't have a photo of it, but yeah, it's been out there. Weird. Well, that's a good story for World UFO Day, people. It is today. 1 hour left in World UFO Day. I like that it's so close to Independence Day.
Yeah,
Interesting.
we're about to start shooting things into the sky that explode. So who knows? Maybe another sphere
Yep.
falls out of the sky.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere in the U.S. and people aren't afraid to open it up and find out what's inside.
What if we get fake alien invasion while we're off for July 4th?
I mean, we'll have something to talk about on Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
Fake or real, we're talking about it.
Let's get to another caller.
Let's do it. All right.
And just reminding everyone, there is no theme. Although it is World UFO Day, you can call and tell us anything. But if you have a UFO story, we would like to hear it. And the link to call in is pinned in the chat below.
It's actually to the right.
Oh, really? I got to change up
I
my
mean,
whole thing.
yeah, maybe. I don't.
It's pinned to the right.
It's pinned to the top of the chat
Oh, the chat's on the side.
on the.
I've never actually watched it live.
Yeah.
I should do that one point with my doppelganger.
You don't watch your own show? How not vain of you. All right. Let's get AK. I see you in there, buddy. Hang out.
Oh, what's up, AK?
I do want to get to you, but let me get a couple of new people in here really quick. I also have Corey that I want to get to because I know Corey was in here last night. So let's bring Corey Blair on right now.
Cool.
Corey, you're on the show. What's up?
Hey, what is going on? Thanks for taking my call again. This is Corey with Break the Chains Media.
Oh, yo, what's up, Corey? How are
Hey,
you?
what's going on?
Doing great. So I wanted to, since the last caller was talking about the TR-3B, got to agree with you, Shane, that it is extremely old tech. I would argue decades old tech.
Yeah.
But my story regarding that, and actually before I do that, I wanted to merge Inverted World Live with Timcast IRL because my thoughts about the big beautiful bill, it's summarized in one word or one phrase. They promised us the moon, but they gave us a petrified piece of wood and called it a moon rock.
Or a big piece of cheese, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
But yeah,
with you.
that's
I'm with
all
you.
I got to say about that. But the story
Good job.
regarding
Good
my
segue.
TR-3B, this was probably, I would say 12 years ago. But what's more interesting than the actual sighting is the serendipitous nature of it and how it took place. But so summarizing it, I was I had a heated discussion with a roommate. I ended up just saying, "Hey, I'm going to go for a walk." Took a walk in the neighborhood, and it was coming about sunset, and I just got to a point randomly in my walk, and I said, "I'm just going to lay down in the park here, lay down in the grass, and just kind of chill until the stars came out." And it was like dusk, right? And I'm not even joking. Like within 5 seconds of me kicking back, laying down on the ground, I see this TR-3B without a sound, without any, like the typical, but it was not slow. It literally went from one side of my visual horizon to the other side of my visual horizon. It went from west to east in about 5 seconds, maybe 3 to 5 seconds. Completely silent, not a nothing. You wouldn't even have noticed. But I think most interesting thing is, like, I wouldn't have noticed if I, in my own psyche, didn't decide to take that pause in my walk to lay down in the park and look up at it.
That's crazy. Were the lights on?
They were not on. It was actually close enough that I could actually see the architecture of the actual metal. Like it wasn't dark enough that I couldn't really make it out. Like I said, the sun was still like past the horizon. It wasn't totally dark. The stars weren't out yet, but it was definitely a visual, a physical material craft, and I don't know if you saw Top Gun Maverick, but
Great
Oh
movie.
yeah, great
it's
movie.
I mean it's exactly that ship, the Dark Star. It's that
Right.
first ship, that military tech ship that he flew that went Mach 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's play a little bit of fantasy with it as far as like, you know, movie magic and entertainment. But I mean, I think that there's a lot of military stuff that's very physical, that's very real, tangible, secret tech. And I actually kind of alluded to this with the whole conflict in the Middle East. Is that like, what if there was some hyper advanced technology that the military, that the United States has, whether it's something that Ashton Forbes talks about or something that, you know, we're not even aware of. Because I mean, the tech that we know of is 60 years old,
Exactly.
70 years old.
It's
Exactly.
interesting that you bring that particular spot up in the movie, because actually when he wipes that thing at Mach 10.1 or 2, I think is when it goes caution and just blows up, he creates a jellyfish ripple effect in the sky. And they show it for a couple of seconds, but it is very comparable to the one that we saw that we had on the show the other day.
That's right. I think Tom Cruise knows about technology we don't know about too.
Absolutely. And then like it's that whole archetype of the similarities of like the Super Bowl and how they show you things right in plain sight, but they don't really tell you anything, but you have to allude to it. And then you end up having conspiracy theorists making up all these different stories, and there's not really an answer, but we kind of know, but it's kind of, you know, taboo or risque, blah blah blah, but we really do know, you know.
Yeah, we know. Some of us do. Some of us still don't, but we certainly do. That's wild. This is a question I just thought of while you were talking about the TR3B. Could you tell if it was glossy or a matte finish? I don't know why. I'm very curious about that.
And it's like, I still to this day vivid in my mind. I did not see a shimmer. I did not see a sunlight. It was extremely matte. It almost looked like you know, a chalkboard, like the consistency of a chalkboard paint, you know, fabric, or not fabric, but you know what I mean. Material.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Very
but
weird.
I appreciate you guys taking my call. I got other alien stories, but I gotta keep some in the back pocket, so that way when I can call in, I can tell you another one. But
awesome.
Sure.
Appreciate all you do, and keep the airlines free and funky and weird.
Awesome, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it, dude.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
good night.
See ya.
Sweet. Shout out to Break the Chains Media. 2 TR3B stories back to back on World UFO Day. We didn't plan this, people. These guys are here waiting in the room to talk.
Unscripted, live, and inverted.
That's right. Super inverted today.
All right. I'm going to go off the beaten path here.
All right.
That
sounds scary.
We got a name in here that is very intriguing to me, and I want to find out what this is about. This is, this person has named themselves Prometheus Genetics.
All right.
So I am admitting them without further ado.
Prometheus Genetics.
Well, let's see if they actually join. This is a super lag join right now that I'm seeing.
They're in their laboratory.
Hello, you are on Inverted World Live. If you can hear us, please unmute your mic and say what's up.
Prometheus.
Sorry about that. You there?
Yep.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Can you hear us? We can hear you.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you guys.
Fantastic.
Sweet. What's going on?
So, I'm a big fan of you, Shane. Been following
you
you since like all the Kanye days and stuff, basically.
Those are crazy days.
And been listening to your show here for the last couple of weeks here, and really enjoy it. Saw the topic tonight and had to call in because I was up on the ladder today painting my house, and my wife is like, "What is that? Is that a feather?" And I look over and I just see like this white orb just floating really high in the sky, doing I mean, it could have been a balloon, to be honest with you. I don't really know. I was like really baffled, and I was like, "What is that?" And I told her, "Hey, go grab my phone," because I got a really nice phone that can zoom in and stuff like that. And I kept my eyes on it. It had been a minute or so and she hadn't come back. So I took my eye off of it and looked to see where she was, climbed down the ladder. And just within that time, I couldn't find it ever again. I walked around my house and like it just like completely vanished. I didn't see it do any crazy aerial maneuver to escape or anything, but I completely lost it. And just kind of baffling and just kind of funny with it being World UFO Day.
Seriously,
I just had to call.
Was it moving like a feather? Is that why she said that? Kind of like floating weird like that?
Yeah, I think she just came out, stepped around the corner, and had her eyes drifted towards the sky because I was high up on a ladder, and I think it just caught her eye, and I could definitely tell it wasn't a feather, but it was a clear blue sky. I couldn't really tell a perspective or anything. A commercial airliner flew by shortly thereafter, and it looked like it was lower than that, but not much lower.
Interesting. And you said to you it looked like an orb?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You said you thought it looked like an orb?
Yeah, it just looked like a white orb. I couldn't tell if it had any texture. I couldn't really even tell you the size of it. It looked rather small, to be honest with you.
Interesting. That's wild.
Yeah,
And then it just disappeared.
And I'm hyper like this topic is interesting to me. I used to be really, kind of like the I want to believe type of stuff, but like I love your take on the bogosphere and all that stuff, because all this new stuff, like I don't trust any of these new guys like Elizondo or any of those guys. They all give me the heebie-jeebies and profiteer vibe,
Dude, that's how I feel. They're trying to like force us to believe in this, and there's no like wiggle room. You're a heretic if you dare question them, and I'm like, I don't know. I've caught them in lies. I mean, we've all caught them in lies. Elizondo has told us he didn't say he lied, but he said he apologized for sharing false images. And I think he did something else recently. I didn't follow it too much.
Isn't sharing a false image lying though?
Yeah, I mean, he talked to a whole group of people saying this is a mothership. That's a pretty big deal to say there's a mothership over a city. And then the next day be like, I was duped. Well, dude, if you're duped, why should I trust you?
Yeah, I'm duped too for listening to you.
Yeah, that's why I don't really pull him up all that much. I mean, it's interesting to see what they're trying to sell us because the story is interesting that they're peddling. But yeah, no, that's interesting, dude. You saw an orb today on the day of the sphere invasion. Maybe it landed in a neighbor's yard, and maybe you got to worry about invasion of the body snatchers or something.
I sure hope not. Yeah, and just as a quick little aside, a previous incident I had, me and my wife were on psychedelics, laying out, looking at the stars,
hell yes,
head to head, and saw what seemed to be a star all of a sudden get bright and then shoot off. Like that was
sweet.
Like my most profound, like that's a UFO. But I'm a rational thinker, so I want to know, what did I really see that night? Granted, I was on psychedelics, so maybe it was nothing. I actually was able to figure out that it was iridium satellites. Like you can look up when they do their repositioning or something like that. And I was able to backdate it to the exact time I was looking at the sky and the location and confirm to myself that I didn't see a UFO. So that's how how weird this stuff is to me,
That's awesome. Because yeah, it's weird that you saw something in the sky, static, that then moved. And but good on you to go do some research and find out, it's just a satellite. Yep. So they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Right on. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Sweet. Look at all these things in the sky. Satellites, orbs, TR-3Bs.
I got to talk about it since we're talking about things in the sky.
Yeah.
When we left Monday night, I was driving back over towards Shenandoah. And we're out in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And the sky on the other side of Charlestown lit up completely orange for about 5 or 6 seconds. And I'm like, it looked like the sky was on fire. And I look out of the truck and I'm like, what in the hell is going on over there? Dies down, goes completely pitch black again. Then re-illuminates for about 5 seconds. And then there's a flash of blue and then it's off. And I'm like, okay. I'm thinking, ambulance, fire truck, something like that. I instantly get a text from my roommate who says, hey, power's doing really weird stuff right now. Whole house is flickering. He's like, I don't know what's going on. Stuff's acting weird. Everything just shut off and turned back on like 3 times.
Whoa.
And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, man, that's trippy. I can't, so I'm talking to him for a second and then reality sets in and I realize that we have been dealing with trees nonstop falling down from all the rain and taking out power lines here.
Yeah.
So my guess is that something took out a power line, or a squirrel got
a transformer.
Yeah, just ran into a
Yep.
transformer and got popped.
Yep.
So, but it was very cool, and I was very suspicious for a second, and then that all went away, and real life set back in.
Yeah,
so.
the rain's been crazy here, and I don't know how it is in Chicago, but I'm not used to these soft trees we've got here. They fall very easily.
Our
in
trees,
rain.
the trees in Chicago shoot at you.
They
So, I'm not used to soft trees either. They're all very hard. Out there. They cock their hats.
These trees are gangster.
Gangster.
They shoot at you. Yeah, like the trees down here in West Virginia, they just fall at like this easiest breeze. And I've seen them knock some transformers, and those things they explode. One actually blew up in my neighbor's yard just a few weeks ago. And I'm like, oh man, that was terrible. But yeah, the storms have been interesting, man. I don't know.
I've had enough.
I think they're turning on the machines on extra.
I've had enough.
Just extra high rain volume for the rain machines.
Yeah, tell NASA to shut the damn cloud machine off for like 2 weeks.
I think they're hiding stuff behind.
I want to take the roof off the Jeep. I'm tired of this.
Oh man. Well, if anyone out there has any strange stories about things falling out of the sky, you should call us and let us know. It is World UFO Day. That's what they want us to do. Spread awareness. We're gonna help. We're gonna help spread awareness. We've had. I think I actually saw a Boeing story. I failed to send it to you, but there was another Boeing mishap.
Oh no.
They've been falling out of the sky a lot too. It's a bummer.
Was it a door or an entire Boeing this time? Because we've had both this year.
I think it was an entire plane. Yeah. Terrible.
Doesn't surprise me.
Terrible. Well, let's get to another caller.
Yeah.
It is now 11:13 at night Eastern time. We'll be here till midnight. Love taking your guys' calls. Thank you so much for showing up and waiting. And for those we don't get to, we will get you tomorrow.
Really quick, let's adjust. Let's do some maintenance work here. Culture War Live. 3 shows coming up: June 26th, July 2nd, July 9th. Comedy Loft DC tickets on sale at dccomedyloft.com. Tim will be there. Alex Stein will be there. I will be there. Come say what's up. We will hang out. Again, dccomedyloft.com. I think Tim said earlier there's maybe like 100-ish tickets left between the 3 shows. So
Sweet.
get them while you can. They're going hot. And also, subscribe, follow, share the show with everybody you know. Thanks so much for all of our callers who have been hanging out this week. We have been overflowed with callers, and me and Shane are ecstatic about that. So thank you guys again so much. We wouldn't have a call-in show without callers. So
Yeah.
without further ado, I want to welcome back A.K. Kamara to the program.
Sick. What is up, AK?
He's still joining.
Take your time, AK. AK has been on the show maybe 3 times now. He's been in this room.
He has been in the studio.
He is
A.K.,
sat
welcome
right
back.
across.
What is up, gents? Happy UFO Day or whatever?
That's what they
UFO.
say.
That's what we heard.
No doubt. So, yeah, I actually, coincidentally, or not coincidentally, depending on your perspective, I actually do have 2, one's like super lame, but 2 UFO type of, I guess, encounters that I personally had.
Okay. Let's
So
hear
yeah,
it.
man. I mean, so the first one, it actually is kind of like it aligns with a lot of previous callers. This is like 1997 in my hometown, Devils Lake, North Dakota, and we actually do have a military installation. It's called Camp Grafton. It's a relatively small outpost, but it still is a military installation, and so. It's a small town. Camp Grafton's like, I don't know, maybe like 6 miles outside of town. And me and my buddy hanging out at his trailer, like his mom's trailer. And it's probably somewhere around like 10:30 at night. It's like his mom worked overnights a lot. So like during the summertime, my mom had no idea like what we were doing, but we would just like screw off. Sometimes we would walk in further into town to her job and steal her car and drive around, just like doing like stupid 12, 13-year-old stuff.
Yep.
So anyways, we're just chilling outside. We would steal cigarettes from his dad all the time. So like we're outside smoking a cigarette, and off kind of in the distance, not too high up from the horizon, we saw like this, I don't know, it was just like a light that just kind of seemed to be moving kind of weird. And like in a relatively short amount of time, I don't know, maybe let's say like 15 seconds, that light suddenly like zipped across the sky again, relatively fast. And as it was getting closer, we could see a triangular shape. So it's like the same type of triangular UFO. This thing was probably, I don't know, man. It's hard to tell distance, but it was maybe like 500 feet up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So you could clearly see the outline of the triangle. It actually had lights that kind of like, I guess you would say like outline the outside shape of it. And the crazy part is that there was no sonic boom. Because like when it was first approaching, it's like, oh, that's just like a plane. But then it started moving so fast. And when you would see planes come in and out, because we have a small regional airport, like you hear the sonic boom, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing, and it was like above us, and it just hovered. And like in the middle of the triangle, right? Me and my buddy are just like completely shocked, like not saying any words to each other. In the middle of the triangle, all of a sudden, like a light appeared, almost like a door or a hatch or something like that was opening, right? So this happens probably over the course of like, I don't know, man, a minute. And then it just sips off like faster than anything. Again, no sonic boom. And me and my buddy, like we're just sitting there, like almost like frozen in disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, bro, like, what was that? And he's like, dude, like we didn't know what to say. So after like, I don't know, 5 minutes, smoked another cigarette. Like we're like 12 years old, right? Smoke another cigarette, go back inside. And he's like, dude, was that a UFO? And I was like, I don't know, man. It had to be. And so like we wrote down all the specifics that we could, right? And now my buddy, he went a little extra. He saw stuff in the like we'll call it the door hatch that opened up. He's like, oh, I saw people like peering at us, and I didn't see that, right? I saw that there was light in the middle, and it looked like a door that opened up, you know, like it's dark, and all of a sudden there's just a bunch of light. And he was like, oh, I saw that there was beings or people or something like that. And yeah, man, to this day, dude, like I hadn't seen him for like a year. I picked him up and I drove him back to North Dakota. It's like a 3-hour drive where I'm at. And I was like, dude, do you remember the UFO? And he's like, bro, it's like burned into my mind. So yeah, so that was experience one. Like I said, man, it was triangular. It's by military installation. It could have just been, you know, our own tech, right? Like I didn't lose any time. He didn't lose any time. It was just, it moved so silently, no sonic boom. That's the part that was so weird, man. I've never had any other experience like that where something moves so quick and you don't hear a sonic boom. Like there's nothing. It was weird.
Did it have the 3 lights or more? Do you remember?
So more than 3 lights. So it was like almost like a Christmas tree where there was just multiple lights that made the outline of the triangle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, there's images of stuff that has like that as well.
Yeah, we've seen kind of both.
Yeah, we see both for sure. That's wild. And when the door or whatever opened, did like light spill out, or did you just see a new light open up?
Yeah, so it's almost like it wasn't like a beam. It didn't like the light didn't hit us. It's just, you know, it's a triangular shape, and then all of a sudden it's like basically like elevator doors opened up, and inside of it was illuminated, right?
Right.
That's what it looked like. It was just like all of a sudden it seemed as though it was a hatch opening, and it was light, and it was just sitting there, man. It was so weird. Weirdest thing ever, man. But yeah, to this day, dude, like it's just like one of these weird things. Like I have no idea what that was. Now with my buddy saying that he saw whatever creatures in there, I was like, dude, I didn't like, how could we, it was like 500 feet. I mean,
right.
Maybe it was closer, maybe it's further away. I also was supposed to wear glasses, but I'm nearsighted, so I can I can see things far away pretty good. But yeah, dude, it was a weird experience. So that's UFO encounter 1.
Yep.
Encounter 2 was super lame, and it's really quick. But I was flying from Washington, Seattle to Minneapolis, and I had to stop in Salt Lake City. And when we were getting ready to land in Salt Lake City, I looked out my window, and this is dumb because this was like 4 years ago, and I had a cell phone, but I was just so like caught up in the moment. But I'm looking out my window, and I see and this goes with today's theme, I saw a giant silver sphere. And I was like, I'm looking out my window, and I'm like, dude, what is that? At first I'm like, maybe it's another plane just reflecting weird or something like that. But no, man, like, I mean, I wouldn't say that we were getting ready to land, but we were still at a pretty decent altitude. So I don't think we were flying slow. And this thing, it wasn't even tracking us, right? Like, it was going in a completely different flight trajectory, but it was going like almost the same speed, and then it accelerated. And by the time I thought to myself, like, dude, I have my cell phone, like, I need to record this. What the heck is this? It was already so far away that when I recorded, like, you can't see anything, right? And yeah, like, to this day, man, every time I fly now, every time I have my cell phone out, because I know that there's a lot of people that have reported seeing, UFOs when they're landing or whatever. But it was just weird, man. It was spherical. I can't tell you like the relative size of it.
Right.
I mean, distance wise, like, it wasn't too far away from us, but obviously, like, it should pick up on radar and stuff like that. And our plane didn't make any weird maneuvers. But yeah, man, that was just weird. I have no idea what it could be. It definitely wasn't high enough to be a satellite or anything like that. But it definitely was too high to be a drone. But it was spherical, man. So weird, dude.
That is weird. Could you tell if it was just straight up smooth, like I don't know if you saw earlier, we were talking about the Betz sphere. The images they showed us.
Yeah, I was watching earlier. Yeah,
was it like that, or
I would say that it wasn't completely smooth. Like it almost looked like it had I don't know, man. It almost looked like it had some type of fin on like the top of it. It was weird though, man. Like it was again, it was round, and from when I first started tracking it, looking out my window, I was like, okay, this is like going the same speed. And I was like, is it just another plane that's just the sun's hitting it, and just kind of like you're just getting the shine. And as I just kept on tracking it, it changed its trajectory, and then it started accelerating. I was like, what the heck is this? And I was like looking around, like, is anyone else looking out and seeing this? And like a lot of people don't even look out the window, man. I always try and sit window seat every time I fly.
Same.
I just do just look outside or whatever.
Yeah.
It's always fascinating.
How else are you going to help fly the plane? I have to help fly the plane.
Honestly, the people that like shut their window at takeoff and leave it there until we land really creep me out.
They're
and
nihilists.
I wonder like what the hell is wrong.
They're just filled with hate.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Listen, man, I'm like a kid. Maybe I'm like whatever. Maybe I'm like just slightly amused by all the things in life. Yeah. But I still think it's insanely cool that like I'm flying through the air across the country or across the globe.
30,000 miles up in the air.
Like, I find wonderment in that, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. Dude, before we let you go, are there any updates on Vance Belter?
Ooh, so couple of updates. He came out, well, I should say, when he was finally apprehended, they tossed his vehicle. He had ended up, this is kind of a weird story, but he ended up buying a vehicle from a guy at a bus stop for $900 and an e-bike. And when police found his vehicle, they actually found a handwritten letter that was addressed to Cash Patel specifically. And there's like kind of a handful of ramblings, and he literally in the letter says that Tim Walls told him to kill Amy Klobuchar. So that was in his handwritten letter, which is different than what they were describing as the manifesto, which actually isn't a manifesto.
I remember that.
Because I've actually talked with a reporter named is Liz Collin.
Okay.
She did Tucker Carlson's podcast not that long ago, but she has law enforcement sources, and she's actually seen like what they're describing as the manifesto, which is just like a bunch of like printed out like lists. It's scribbled like notebook, like the guy was taking notes. He was like watching some of these different legislators' houses, making notations of like who's leaving at what time. So it wasn't really like what you would define as like his rantings of like, oh, this is what I want to do, what I want to accomplish. But this handwritten letter was very, very specific, where he makes this very bold claim that Governor Tim Walz told him to kill Amy Klobuchar, you know, so he could run for Senate or something. It was weird. So that is weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Now my gut instinct, okay, says likely this guy he let evil take over his heart. These just could be his ramblings, and maybe he wanted to throw people off the trail. But listen, man, I'm saying there's not a 0% possibility. Like this dude could be MK Ultra that then went off the rails. I don't think, again, like 0.00001%, non-zero, but maybe, just maybe, he was like MK Ultra, and maybe he had done stuff all through his life, right? Like in his adult life. And then maybe his brain just snapped and he made up this entire elaborate plan. Again, I don't think it's likely, but it's just, there's so many other things that have came out. He had multiple security companies in Wisconsin going back to the mid 2000s. He, in that letter, also claimed that he had military specialized training, right? And yeah, man, now I will say that his wife came out and she like has completely disavowed him. Which if she would have came out and been like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know where this came from. And like, or said like, oh, he, you know, he's been brainwashed or something. But she was like, I didn't know that this monster was living in my house type of thing. So she kind of corroborates. It's like, yeah, this dude clearly is acting in ways that she doesn't recognize. It's not true to her faith.
Did she talk about?
Like they're Christians, right?
Did she talk about the roommate, that whole situation, like why he wasn't at home?
No. So that's the thing, is that like the only statement that she so far made was like, "We're Christians. He's not following anything that we believe. I don't even recognize who this man is." That's basically the only statement that she had. Now, if she would have came out and she would have been like, he would never do this, something happened to him, then that would add to,
of course,
the to you know, the bigger question. But since she didn't, and then she also wanted to clarify, because the initial reporting is that she was pulled over trying to basically escape. She had passports, $10,000 in cash. But what she said is that she already was pulled over, and basically she cooperated with law enforcement. They came up to her apparently because her vehicle, one of the vehicles that they found was registered to her, like the actual Ford Explorer that was left at the scene of the politicians that he actually murdered. And so, but she just wanted to clarify that, which was kind of weird. She was like, we weren't trying to run. Like the cop came and asked who I was. I was like, I'm so-and-so. And they're like, we got questions, and we fully cooperated, but we weren't like trying to run or anything like that. I guess they were preppers. And one of the text messages he had sent was like, men with guns are going to be showing up to our property. So basically get the bug out bag and it's time to vamos. And so she claims, again, based off that one statement or whatever that she made, that like, that's all that she understood, is that she didn't think that he had went and, you know, assassinated politicians.
That's interesting to me that
like
she like disavowed him and said he wasn't himself, but still believed him enough to listen to the doomsday prepper get out of Dodge type text.
I know, man. That's why I'm saying, like, it's some weird stuff. I still want to, like, because here's the thing. He clearly is willing to talk. So it's going to be fascinating to see what he's going to say. So he already had an arraignment hearing, and they pushed back his actual first arraignment because he said that he was unable to sleep because in the prison or in the jail, the county jail, they keep the lights on 24 hours a day, right? And he said that he just can't sleep. But whatever, the sheriff came out and said, like, we've observed him with his laying still for 6 hours with his eyes closed. If he's not sleeping, you know, that's up to him. But the judge granted a week longer for him to, like, I guess, prepare himself mentally. So he's supposed to next week officially enter his plea. So it's interesting, man, because he seems like he wants to say stuff, but as you know, there are a certain segment of society that, you know, they like this stuff. Like, this is, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
He wants to be able to have his platform in whatever kind of deranged worldview that he has. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I think that there's going to be a lot more news that comes out of this just because of how calm and collected he has been at his appearances. He's specifically told the media he doesn't want to talk yet. So I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it, and I'm sure we'll hear from you again when more developments come out of that story, dude. But I appreciate you calling, man, and sharing the UFO stories.
Absolutely. You guys have a great Independence Day, America's birthday. Peace out.
Too. See you, man.
Thanks, AK.
Wild. So for those who don't know what we were talking about, I'm sure you do. That was about the political assassin in Minnesota. It's kind of dropped out of the news. That was a pretty major, crazy, heinous crime. AK is in that area more or less, and he called the night or two after that news broke and gave us some insights. I was weirded out by the roommate that this guy had because he was married and he had this nice house and then also had this weird house with that weird roommate. But yeah, I didn't know anything that AK just shared with us. So I want to look into the wife stuff.
That was the guy that had like all the different professions and stuff too, right? He was tied to like a bunch of different stuff, and it was just like, how the hell was he keeping up with all of this?
Security, a church. He was in something with the government appointed by Tim Walz. He was a Trump supporter, but, you know, Walz appointed him as something.
Yeah, he'd be pissed if you call him a Democrat, according to his roommate.
That's right. And he had that weird rubber mask on. But...
Yep. And then his roommate fake cried and went back in the house.
Yeah, that was weird. That roommate was weird. Now I'm even more weirded out by the wife stuff. Like, so I want to look into that, and what I want to see is, was she just saying she was worried that she got the text saying you got to get out of that house? That's why she had all her stuff. Was she running for her own safety? If so, then why wouldn't she contact the authorities? Maybe she didn't trust the authorities. But if she thought he wasn't acting Christian, I wonder how long she had thought he hadn't been acting Christian to then believe his text message saying you got to get out. Because if she was questioning his mental state leading up to this, if I got a text like that from someone I was already thinking was crazy, you know, I wouldn't probably not take it seriously. But that's interesting. Did not know that. Thank you, AK, for the updates. Let's get to another caller.
All right. I want to go to, and again, if we don't get to you today, call us back tomorrow. I will prioritize getting you guys on the show first. I want to try to bring in some new people as well.
Definitely.
Because we have a lot of revisitors lately. Let's go to Howard Starr. I don't think we've had them on before. Howard, you're on Inverted World Live. What's up?
What's up? Can you hear me?
We can.
Yep.
Oh, man, I'm so excited that you guys took my call.
Oh, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Word. Hey, Shane, I just want to say your voice is so calming, brother. You should read, like, nighttime stories, you know. And
I'll start doing, ASMR, like, history readings. I'll narrate something.
You better not put me to sleep, or you're gonna have to get over here and drive. That's all I'm saying.
No problem, man. You guys are awesome. I just got turned on through Tim Cast
Sick.
recently, man, and so I'm digging the show. I love
Awesome.
that you just let everybody kind of just, share.
That's it.
I'm sure some people write off a lot of what we're gonna say, but hey, whatever. So I think it's really cool. I'm so glad you got my call because you said something about Boeing and all these planes.
Oh, Shane loves Boeing.
Yeah, go on.
Right. So you're gonna love this, I hope, man, because this happened. This is not UFO related. It's more like the dream kind of thing. There's a series of dreams that I had years back, having to do with planes. And and so just for context, I'm a Christian. Yeah, I believe, I know you are, and I appreciate the faith that gets shared and everything like that. And so it brings it to, kind of ahead with me when I had this first dream years ago. I'm in a house, if I can, and then I walk out onto a porch and I hear, that sound when a plane reverses its engines. That
Very familiar with that.
And, and so I look up, and I'm telling you, man, this jetliner was 100 feet above my head, and it's coming down. And I just, in my dream, I said, Lord Jesus, don't let it fall on us. And then it goes right over top, and then I just hear this boom explosion sound. I run around the house through some bushes, and what looks like used to be a shopping center or something is just charred black, completely gone, right? So, and then I kind of wake up. Well, I think about it, because it's kind of one of them dreams that sticks with you. And inside time goes by, I dream again that I'm at an airport. It's dark. I can't tell how late it is, but I literally watch an airplane as I'm standing by this little terminal thing. It's smaller, more like a municipal size airport. And this plane, directly in front of me goes down the runway, and it takes off, and it takes off, and it begins to shoot straight up into the air. And it does like this U-turn. All of a sudden, it just does this U-turn and just crashes right back down into the ground. This huge explosion. And in my dream, I hear myself just, oh no, all the people. And then I wake up. And so there's, two dreams about planes crashing. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure, but as a kid, I had dreams that would repeat themselves, but not two similar dreams in two separate situations. So I let it go, and I go about my life. And another period of time passes, and then all of a sudden I'm in this dream. And I'm not kidding you. It's like literally I'm standing outside of my car, and there's a lot of other cars, people standing outside of their cars. It seems like I'm in the middle of a big highway. Can't say I can describe all the cars, but I see this particular woman standing in front of me. And we're just standing in the middle of the highway. Everything's stopped. All of a sudden, I hear and see a small plane fly directly over top of us, coming down, and it crashes like a Cessna, like a smaller plane. And she says, "Oh no, a plane crashed." And I said, "Oh, I didn't say anything." I see another smaller plane, kind of similar trajectory, whatnot, directly over us, crashes again. And she says, "Oh no, another plane crashed." And then I look in my dream, and I point directly down this long highway, and I say out of my mouth, I say, "They're all coming down." And as I look down the highway, I can see the big planes just falling out of the sky to fireballs into the ground. And then I woke up.
Whoa.
And so those dreams over those years, and this is the last dream I shared, and I share it with people. And stuff, people don't like it. They don't really know how to take it. I don't fly, needless to say. But it feels so real.
Yeah.
Something like that when it's not just the things that happen, it's that I hear myself speaking in the dream. Each one of these dreams, and then hear this woman speaking. So it's like this awareness of like, this is more than just a dream.
When did you stop flying?
Well, I flew pretty much one time when I was about 20 years old, really younger, to Chicago. Brother in there knows a little about Chi-Town, and I lived there for a while. So
I got to fly there on Friday, actually.
And it was a lot different then. I'm 50 years old now, but so 30 years ago, I flew once, and it was all I really needed. Once I experienced turbulence and different things like that, I didn't dig it.
Try smaller planes; they suck.
Oh man,
Yes,
it was
do.
like I just looked around at everybody else, and if they weren't freaking out, I didn't freak out, right?
Yeah.
So I figure most of these people had probably done this.
Yeah.
Well, but the years went by, and then I had these dreams, and I've had several other dreams, but this one really sticks with me because I feel like what I witnessed was like some sort of attack in that last dream, because all the vehicles, everything was stopped.
Right.
And then all the planes fell. So I started kind of over years thinking about it more and more. And I thought, well, what kind of like collateral damage or human loss are we looking at if all the planes fall?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Right? And it's like over 500,000 people.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge. You don't know where they're going to land, not just the people in the planes, but what cities are going to hit. That's crazy.
And then you got AI, and that freaks me out because then they could all be controlled, like, remotely. Not, not that that's ever happened before 9/11.
Those are hologram planes.
Okay. All right. Either way, the explosions are real. The effect is real. And that's just kind of where my mind goes. It's like, what kind of attack could cause that nightmare to be a reality?
Well, I mean, how far do you think we are from planes self-flying? Like
they already exist.
I'm sure they already exist.
They can fly a drone.
Yeah.
They can fly a plane.
Like I bet there will come a time. Like, don't you think with commercial flights?
Well, I mean, we've got autopilot.
We have autopilot.
It requires a human touch to get it to the point of activating autopilot, but we do have autopilot now. So I mean, the technology is there. It's just liftoff.
Like they're going to say it's going to be safer.
Shut down.
It's human beings willing to let that in control 100%. See, it's not that it couldn't take off or land. It's just like you're not gonna. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at drones, obviously. Drones are piloted remotely. There's no one jumping in those little things and going and blowing stuff up with them.
They can be autonomous.
Yeah.
See, planes, there are planes they have that never land. These planes, they fly and fly and fly, and they're just continually refueled. The experiments they run with just like what these folks are talking about, the guys talking 60, 70-year-old technology.
Right.
That if you see it, if I see it, I'm going to think that's something from the future.
Right.
We're not trained to observe what they consider, it's like parachute pants, I mean, some things, we can't bring back because we have no context.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be interesting to see the way technology changes flight and how much we're willing to give up to robots, to AI, because I have not been inside a self-driving car, nor do I want to be in one. But they're telling, the people who report on this stuff, who are so into it, They say it's safer than humans. A world will be much safer when all the cars are driving themselves. I guarantee that conversation will go to planes soon enough.
They're talking statistically too.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, statistically it's safer, but realistically they don't have those numbers yet because it hasn't been tested enough for them to compare the two. So really it's just a segue to get them into that, and then we're in test phase.
It's like when they tell you, if you take this shot, we're going to save lots of lives, but then they say
but they have the studies already before they release
right,
shot,
and
it's going to kill you.
And they're trying to tell me like, oh, you're going to we saved so many lives. I'm like, how do you know that? That's a made up number. You're just making things up. It makes no sense.
I mean, leave it to Elon. You know, he's got these self-driving taxis now. I think it's only a matter of time. And, you know,
like, what you said, what is the catalyst that presents a world that needs that, right? Because where human error, invention is the mother, or necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Yep.
Well, we need a safer environment, right? Well, auto crashes kill all these people, so they justify, but the problem is that and they don't want people flying. The globalists don't. They want to eradicate it. They don't want travel and all that stuff.
I agree.
So what they've got to do is deter flight, right? What further deterrent would you need than be it maybe over one country or globally, all the planes fall. So nobody will ever get in another plane.
Well, it's like Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes said, the first Iron Man. Boom, shout out. No autopilot or anything like that is ever going to trump a pilot's instinct, their ability to react or look into a situation. I don't think machines are capable of reading on that level. And yeah, we've got AI and it can predict things and stuff like that. But realistically, humans are the ones that have instincts and quicker reaction time right now. So I think we're close, but hopefully not close enough.
And talking about Elon, his birthday, we just missed. It was June 28th. Oddly enough, I have a few people I know.
Same week as mine. That's creepy.
Yeah, that's creepy. He's saying that his shuttle to Mars will be flown by AI. So I'm positive Grok is learning so much from all of us. We're basically teaching Grok how to fly a spaceship to Mars.
But this is the thing. See, we were taught this knowledge. You get into the Anunnaki and you get into all the fallen and all this stuff. All the forbidden knowledge was taught for a reason. And I'm going to tell you, this is where the word goes. It says, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth, for Satan is cast down among you, having great wrath, knowing he has but a short time, right? See, if the devil knows he has a short time, what's the problem? This is his prison. Earth is his confinement. He wants to leave, right? So if he can convince men to hybrid with him, create the technology here to leave Earth, right? He can thereby then break what the word says, right? They're Prometheus, propagating human seed throughout the universe. When God said man was made for the earth, right? The earth was made for man. This is where we were made to learn, not to take corruption and sin and everything that we're made of somewhere else. It's imprisoned here. It will never leave this place. The lie is spreading, and they think they can avoid and get away from the judgment that's coming.
Tower of Babel.
They can't. It's another same attempt. It's nothing new under the sun. It's just a matter of how many times it's going to happen and what time's going to be the last time. Because the last time's coming. Is this the 100%. Last time they attempt to take over and make God a lie?
It does. I mean, everyone feels like we're the closest to the end, but there is something crazy about the way these people are trying to build their own God, their own omniscient presence through the surveillance state, through all the AI, the rockets, the lavender AI, all that stuff. They are doing the Babel thing, like they are defying all that. So,
it's already there. The system's there. This is what I'm saying. The system is there. It's waiting. That's where all the trillions of dollars of debt is going to build that system. Now they have to collapse this system so that system can be incorporated. Oh, now it's safe to fly with these new machines. Now it's safe to do this with these new machines. Now it's safe to do everything with all these machines because people are so flawed. And you know what? As a matter of fact, we've got to get rid of most of you because you're just useless eaters. You can't do the jobs that these machines can do. Why is it going to be set up that way? Because that's the system that it's always been. And it's one to control and make God a liar.
And that might sound extreme to people, but that is, I mean, we just yesterday or the day before talked about ChatGPT talking about genociding entire people, groups of people. And we also see things in Canada right now. They have a MAID program. There's a small percentage of their entire population that are signing up to have the government take their lives. So it's insane. And Brandon, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, everybody knows I'm not religious, but from the religious standpoint of this, they say that God created man in his image. Mm-hmm. So all man really has left to do is recreate God in his image. And what does God do? He takes and he gives. So leave it up to the creation to take everything away.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I'm going to say this because the important thing is if you go to Psalm chapter 2, it says, "Why do the heathen rage? Why do the kings of the earth imagine a vain thing, saying, let us break their bands asunder and remove their cords from us?" What that basically is if you can take the deity of Christ and keep him just like another dude, then you can take just another dude and make him like Christ. That's the problem. Humans can't be like Christ. Jesus Christ is no longer human. But if people can talk about him like he's still just some human guy, then we can now excel and we no longer need God because we can find him in ourselves and we can be God for ourselves when there's no God but the Lord, and that's just human nature to go against. Adam wasn't even happy just chilling with the Lord, right? He had to have somebody too. And that's the first place he went wrong. He needed somebody else. The Lord wasn't enough. And how did that work out?
Yeah, we're reaping the benefits of that to this day.
I side with Adam. I would have gave a rib to have some women around. That's just me, though.
Like, I'll take the consequences.
You would have done the same thing Adam did, and I would have too. You wanted her. Now she did something. What are you going to do? You're not going to leave her to herself. You're going to give your life for her.
Right.
And the same thing with Jesus in the church and people that believe him. It's like, you didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve it. Man, we ruined everything. But he's like, look, I'm going to take all that punishment for you. I'm going to bear all that for you so that I can be glorified apart and separate from you so that you don't ever have to deal with the weight and responsibility that comes with the glory.
Yeah, well, beautifully said, man. I want to try to get to one more caller before the end of the night, but I really appreciate you calling and sharing that stuff with us.
I hope I can call back.
Anytime, please do. Please do.
Thanks, fellas.
Have a good night. And then while you get to another caller real quick, I'm just going to say one other thing to wrap up that conversation is like all these, not all of them, a lot of those people who are building a lot of these anti-human machines and technology, they always end up naming their creations Eve. It's weird. Whether it's clones, the Realian cult, this isn't so much the tech bros, but they're kind of like a offshoot of them. I think they're adjacent. They have given Elon awards recently. Well, in 2022, they claim to have cloned someone, and they named her Eve. Elon's first Neuralink patient, he named his Neuralink Eve. You'll look through them and the things they create, and you see Eve pop up a lot. Which just goes to show like how much of this like religion narrative they have.
That chain, I think, is only going to continue to because it's symbolic of the first. So, anytime anyone's trying to come up with the first of anything, I'm going to name it Adam. I'm going to name it Eve. I can see that being a thing,
Oh, it's definitely a thing.
Never going to stop.
Because they see it as their own God. I mean, there's other ways of doing it.
Creation.
But they are creating their false God. They call it summoning the God. They used to call it summoning the demon. They rebranded.
Okay.
So time for one more?
Yeah, we're going to try to take one more here.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people in waiting room, so again, we will try to get to you guys. I'm going to write names down so I can get back to you guys tomorrow if we can. Try to call back.
Guys. Thank you.
I'm going to roulette this one and just kind of point to a name, and we're going to pull him in. Okay. we are going to bring in. Is this the one with the name that's not correct? I'm gonna say Dan because I remember this last time we said Danny, and it wasn't Danny.
Hey fellas, you hear me?
We can. Welcome to the show.
What up?
How you doing?
Doing good, man. I want to tell you a missing time story.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
So this is, my kid's 19 now. He was probably 2.5 at the time. So this is a few years back, right?
They grow up so fast.
We were still using like MapQuest and Garmin. We didn't want.
Well, nice. We used to tour with MapQuest. Yeah, incredible.
It's a name I never wanted to hear again. But continue.
Yeah. So me and all my cousins, we worked together, and one of his girlfriends was invited to a family reunion up in Forks, Washington, and I'm from Portland. Mm-hmm. It might be interesting for you to MapQuest that from Portland to Forks, Washington, just generally, because if you look up the highway, there's some interesting things on the way that you can see even on map. Like there's a big Indian reservation and a lot of nuclear waste, like storage places and military sites along the way up this highway. It's it would be I-5 to 101 is the route that you take up there.
Okay.
And so we left on like I believe it was a Thursday or a Friday, and so it was like heavy traffic right after work, worst time to leave. And so we're like stuck on the bridge for an extra hour and a half. So normally it would only take like, I believe it's 4.5 hours, like on a regular day with normal traffic to get from Portland to Forks. And so we knew it was going to take us a little longer, and ended up taking us, I think, 6 hours to get up there in the worst conditions we've ever that you could take, right? And on the way up there, one of the things we noticed is like now we're all aware of like wildfires and shit. At that time, I had never really like seen an area that had just been decimated by fire. So for miles, it was just black, like all the 60, 70, 80 foot trees, they're just matchsticks, just everything charred to a crisp. Even on the left of the road where it meets the water, where it's all marshy, even all that stuff's burnt. So it had to be like a really hot fire. And it goes on like this for miles. And then when it just ends like a line, and you go under like a canopy of trees, and then you're just driving for miles on this highway. It's real pretty. It's like it's shaded. And I remember it being hot. So it was like being out of that shade was nice, And we get up to the place, and long story short, it got weird. We didn't know these people. They weren't like accepting us on their property. They weren't very like, inviting and stuff. We decided it was best to leave like late at night. So we turn around and head back probably about 12. It was somewhere around 12:01 at night. So remember, it normally takes about 4.5 hours to get up there, and heavy traffic, it's like 6, right? So we're headed back from Forks, Washington on 101. And just like when we were driving up there, now we're in the canopy of trees, and we're driving towards the burned down fire area, right? And when we popped out of these trees, we saw something that I can only like explain as it was about 2 telephone poles high off the road. It was maybe 50 feet to the left of the road, and it was probably this. I can't even really judge the scope, man. I would say like a 3-story house, but it's maybe bigger. And it was a little bit like foggy and cloudy right there, so you could kind of judge distance because you see the light coming off this thing, and it was orange, like a orange red, and the best way I can describe it is like brilliant. But it was, when you saw it, when we were aware of it, rather, it was like it seemed like it was charging up and then just gone. And there were 3 adults. Me and my friend was driving. I was in the passenger seat. My kid's mom was in the back, and my I think he was probably about 2.5 at that time. Must have been. Kid was asleep, and none of us said anything. Nobody said a word. It was like most amazing thing you had ever seen, but it just, and I was aware of it. And then eventually from the back of the Explorer, my kid's mom said, "Did you guys see that?" And that was like the first time we were all aware that we all saw it. It was almost like your mind was in the middle of dismissing it, you know? And we had a car full of guns, you know, none of that mattered. It was like all of a sudden we were all really scared and driving like 100 miles an hour down this road, like breakneck speeds, no stops. We didn't stop one time on the way at all. We took every risk to get back as far as possible. By the time we got to 84, we were like breaking 120, and there was like, it felt good to be around people. As much as I hate to say it, to see Portland again was like so great, man. Just to be around concrete and like civilization, because
Right.
you know we had been flying on this highway for hours, just white knuckled, scared to death.
I was gonna say, I haven't heard a lot of people happy to see Portland a second time, so that's, I can imagine what you were going through.
Right. I grew up here, so you know it is what it is. But so we get back to my apartment, and we had borrowed my dad or his dad's Explorer, and he was at work. So the plan was for him to return his car to his dad's work so that he could have use of his car, and he would take his little rice rocket car back home, right? But we're in my apartment, and my buddy's standing out front, and he's talking to his dad on the phone. And then his face, we thought like maybe somebody was hurt or something. His face went blank, and he was like wandering around talking to him. And then he comes in and he's like, "Do you know what time it is?" We took our guesses, you know, and he's like, "It's first break." And by that he meant we all work at the same place. First break meant 10:30 to 11 o'clock. Now, judging by the time we left, worst case scenario, heavy traffic. Like we should have been back maybe 6 in the morning. And with no traffic, driving 100 miles an hour, scared to death, we definitely should have beat the normal time of like 4 or 5 hours, right? So like worst case scenario, we were gone like over 5 hours with no explanation, with no stops, with no nothing except for just and one of the things that really bothers me is that it was such an amazing sight, and none of us were going to say anything like at all. None of us were going to mention it until she said that. That's when we all got scared and we all kind of knew it was real. Otherwise, I think it was almost like we were just going to dismiss it altogether.
Do you think when she said, what did she say? What is that? Or did you guys see that? That might have been after the missing time?
Yeah, the way because I looked at my friend and we both said at the same time, I thought I was the only one. Like just, and that's when we started driving fast. But the way it feels to me is that we popped out, saw it, we're paused, not like removed or anything or abducted, just paused. And then when we were unpaused, we were hanging on like almost like a dream to what just happened, but it was fleeting, you know. And that's the way it feels. It really affected the one out of three of us. My friend, he kind of went into a spiral. He's never really worked a real job or anything since. He was I haven't seen him in a decade, but other people have seen him like with a shopping cart running around town. He's like been on drugs, and he really fell apart after that. He wouldn't talk about it. It messed him up pretty good.
What do you think's going on here? Is this because it's like kind of like an abduction story or something else?
I don't know. We didn't have any nobody has any reoccurring feelings of like visions of being at another place or people explain being on tables and shit. Like none of that is just missing time and just a pause and just the fear and almost the feeling that the guns we had were worthless, and we had like some firepower,
right?
And you knew that it wasn't even a thought that was going to be effective for what we were up against. You just kind of knew that,
right?
Did you guys kind of discuss any of this after the fact? Like, did you guys ever sit down and hash out exactly like what everybody saw, how everybody felt about it, or anything like that, or was it just kind of unspoken after that point?
Me and obviously that was my kid's mom at the time. We talked about it a lot, and over the years or whatever after that. But my buddy, he went from hanging out with us, a group of friends all the time. There was a bar down the street we all went to, and he went from that to not ever wanting to be with all of us again. He didn't want all three of us ever to be in the same place.
This was the guy that spiraled out, as you said?
Yeah, but he did show up one time about a year later, and I was telling this story to three of our other coworkers, and we talked him into coming up there. He told the story and left like without telling anybody in the middle of like hanging out playing shuffleboard, and then I never spoke to him in person again. Wow. I do have like his Facebook. I know he's still around and like doing, I guess, okay, but we just kind of never were friends again.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. And just to recap, you left that area around 12 or 1 a.m. You were heading back on 101, and you saw this thing that was like, you said 2 telephone poles high off the road, maybe like the size of a 3-story house in the fog. This orange, red, brilliant color. You said like it was charging up. No one seemed to care all that much as you were approaching it, and then at some point after is when your kid's mom, I believe, said, "Did you guys see that?" And then you speed back.
Exactly.
And then when you get there, the father's like, "Do you know what time it is?" And then you realize there's like 4 or 5 hours unaccounted for, and yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah, and the one of the worst things besides being happy to be back in Portland is, I'll tell you this story the next time I call in. I told you the farmer story, right? And then I told you the story about the 2 ghosts. This is the apartment that I lived in right prior to that. So I had to go back to what was happy to be back to my haunted apartment. That's how terrifying that experience was. You just felt very helpless.
Wow. Yeah, that's a crazy feeling. Well, you should call back and we'll talk about the haunted apartment at some point.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking my call again, fellas.
Definitely, man. Have a great night. Thank you for that.
Take care.
That is a crazy story. Brandon, where can they find you?
You can find me on X and Insta at Brando Inverted. Thank you guys for hanging out. We will see you tomorrow. As always, stay weird.
So apologies to those we couldn't get to tonight. Thank you guys for sticking around. I hope you call back tomorrow. Brandon's been taking names down, and we'll get to you first thing when we get to callers tomorrow. Really, thank you guys so much for spending World UFO Day with us. You can find me online everywhere at Shane Cashman, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a good night, y'all.